For example, I made a few videos a while back in which I addressed the blackface issue in Japan, where the music group Rats and Star and another famous comedian would wear blackface on their face in a way of trying to imitate black people. Now, me living in American culture, I know the root of blackface, and at least in American culture, is one out of hatred and racism. Konbanwa minasan. Kyo desu. So amidst this whole Will slapping Chris Rock situation, there has been the concern about Chris's joke, and it seems like, especially in my past videos when I talked about the situation with Will and Jada, everyone kind of understood that Will's marriage wasn't the greatest, but more people had a problem with the joke within itself. And I believe this is a case of huge cultural difference between America and Japan. Now, one thing that I love about this channel is that I have the opportunity to introduce you guys to different cultures, different aspects of other cultures, especially ideas and values. And I'm pretty sure many of you who watched this channel recently or from the beginning have at least gained some insight on how Americans think and how they process, and how America differs from Japan in many aspects. And I see it as a privilege to be a vessel to help you guys with that, because I kind of use an example of, say, a child or a person who's been in the house all his life. He's never got outside of the house and experienced life. And for this video, I specifically want to address the cultural difference between comedy in America and Japan, seeing as many people don't like Chris Rock's joke at the Oscars. Comedy in America is extremely cutthroat, and comedy has take jabs at everybody, at religious people, at atheists, blacks, whites, Asians, poor people, rich people, people of different nations, nationalities, color, everything. Comedy has attacked everyone and every subject on the face of the planet. Similar to my hip hop video, comedy really doesn't discriminate with who it makes jokes about. And in Chris Rock's joke, he basically said, "Jada, love you. Can't wait for that G.I. Jane movie." You know, that was a very tame comment, because he was basically comparing her to a movie, G.I. Jane 2, which was a woman with a bald head infiltrating a military, or being in the military, where she had to compete and pretty much keep up with the men in that said military. And it's not like he said that, "Hey, your bald head is ugly. Oh, Jada, you're ugly now. Oh man, I feel sorry for you." It wasn't like that. It was a very tame, light joke. And trust me, comedians have said 10 times a lot worse to other people in the realm of comedy. Honestly, from a scale from 1 to 10, I would say that joke's power was about a 2, if 10 was worse. And I'm sure that many Japanese who have lived in the West, who've experienced Western, especially American culture, can probably tell you the same, that yes, American comedy over here is very offensive. And in this area, I think it's very important to develop thick skin when consuming different kinds of art and entertainment. For example, I enjoy a lot of stories from manga I read. And a lot of times I run into arcs or, dialogue from the characters, which I believe the mangaka is trying to pretty much tell the audience the mangaka's worldview. For example, Hunter x Hunter is a manga I love tremendously, and there's a specific arc in the Chimera Ant arc, which I believe Takashi Yoshihiro is kind of letting the audience know his views on the world and how on humankind pretty much. And I disagreed with a lot of what he was saying through that said arc. However, I was able to pretty much set the difference between the art within itself and the message that the author and mangaka was trying to give. For me, I think it's a very unique and useful skill to be able to appreciate art, even if you may not like what the art is trying to convey, or what the person is trying to say to the audience, or how they believe, what they believe, and the cultural and their values and all that. And I believe you need this when you're also considering consuming American comedy. Many comedians that I enjoy have said things that I wholeheartedly disagree with, and some things I'm like, I would not say that. But I still can appreciate that the fact that the joke was funny, or at least they're good at what they do. I'm not saying this is an easy skill, but I believe when you develop thick skin when consuming content, it helps you to enjoy entertainment and content more without being easily offended by everything that comes at you. I'm not saying that you have to watch everything and enjoy it. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that you have to be strong for yourself, because not everything is going to be easy to swallow, or not everything is going to be easily consumed. So the stronger you are, at least the more tolerable things become, even if you don't agree with it. And recently I made a short in which I was comparing Japanese and American comedy. A lot of people thought that I made this short because I got offended, and that I was mad that the Japanese people weren't agreeing with me, and I was offended that they hated or that they disagreed with what I was saying. probably thinking something like this.
Oh man, I can't stand these Japanese people. I'm gonna show them that I'm right and that they're wrong, and I'm gonna make a skit, and make fun of them because I'm right.
It wasn't like that. For some of you who've been on this channel for a long time, or maybe some newcomers, understand that I'm not a person who gets offended easily. From a long time since I was a little kid, I've always faced opposition, and I had to learn how to develop thick skin because I realized from an early age that life is not easy, and there's going to be people who disagree with you on multiple things. And you have to be sure within yourself that what you believe is right, even if the majority of people may not think that what you believe is right. And also consider many people project their own beliefs and actions onto other people. So most people who probably think I outrage or I get emotional because someone hates me are probably people who get emotional and outraged when people don't agree with them. And with that short, I was mainly just showing the differences between American and Japanese style comedy. I wasn't offended at all. And again, I've said multiple times, you don't have to agree with anything I say on this channel. I'm just willing to have a dialogue, and at least we can share ideas and people can come to your own conclusions, because I think that's how life should be. We should be able to have a civil conversation, share ideas, and if you like what I say, cool. If not, throw it away. But we don't get offended, and I don't get offended. We're all good. But going back to the Oscars, even in stand-up comedy, it's very common for the comedian to actually roast and make fun of people in the crowd. And it's similar to the Oscars, where multiple Oscars have had hosts go on stage and make fun of people who are part of the award ceremony, people who are nominated, or just generally any famous person or celebrity. It's a common culture in America. And mainly what I want people to understand, not just Nihonjin, but also Westerners, everybody in general, is that at least try to understand why a people or culture does what it does. Because many times I've seen people comment in the comment section, oh, America is very weird. America is strange. Oh, that's why I'm happy I don't live in America. That's why I'm never leaving Japan. And though I get why they're saying that, it could be said for a lot of Americans who may look to Japanese culture and may say, man, Japan is weird. Oh, why do Japanese do that? Oh, if that's why I'm never leaving America, I'm never going to Japan. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So if you're going to critique another culture or people, just make sure you're willing to receive criticism from that same people when they say things about your culture or your people. For example, I made a few videos a while back in which I addressed the blackface issue in Japan, where the music group Rats and Star and another famous comedian would wear blackface on their face in a way of trying to imitate black people. Now, me living in American culture, I know the root of blackface, and at least in American culture, is one out of hatred and racism. Because many whites, many years ago in America's past, would do blackface to make fun of black people and insult them. But I know in Japan, it was more paying tribute to black people. It wasn't something to insult them by, like the comedian was trying to pay homage to Eddie Murphy, and Rats and Star were trying to pay homage to many black musicians that do the similar kind of music, or musicians that they were inspired by. So in that situation, I was able to take myself outside of myself and kind of look at things from a bird's eye view to try to understand why. Because to me, intention is very important when you're trying to understand why people do what they do. And I know from the Japanese part of it was that their intent was not to make fun of black people, it was actually to honor black people. While in America, many people who have done that was to insult black people. And many black people in America can look in Japan and say, wow, what they're doing is racist, it's wrong. But many Japanese will say, no, it's not offensive. We're not trying to make fun of you. But culturally, because blackface is associated with negative stereotypes, even when Japan is doing something that is, their intentions are good, many black Americans will see it as bad because that has a certain connotation of negativity to it. And me as a person, I'm not going to tell Japan to stop doing blackface. I don't believe I have that authority to say that. I'm just saying when you do things, you have to understand the consequences or the backlash you might get while doing it. But you kind of see in that situation, I was able to try to understand why those Japanese did what they did with blackface. And with that, I was able to get a better understanding of why. But I could have just been a person who was easily offended and just call the Japanese racist, but that wouldn't have been accurate. Since I know somewhat a bit of Japanese culture, I knew that it wasn't racist. But then many Americans also look at tsukomi, the style of Japanese comedy, and they don't like that at all. And in American culture, slapping people is extremely offensive. Now, of course, I know when Japanese slap people, it's not really meant to be offensive, but in Western culture, slapping is very rude. But a slap is more like you're beneath me. I'm slapping you because you're beneath me. So a lot of Americans wouldn't agree with tsukomi type of comedy because it is very offensive to Americans. And for me personally, I'm not a big fan of that kind of comedy, but I'm not going to condemn Japan for something that they do. I'm not saying it's wrong for them to do. I'm just saying from my American heritage, it's a bit weird. But then many Japanese will say, well, Kyo, that's what the Japanese do. That's our culture. And if you have a problem with it, that's your fault, or you deal with it. But then the American person can say to the Japanese person, well, in our comedy, we love to insult people. If you don't like it, that's your problem. Deal with it. You see how that works? You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm not trying to say that at all. Like, if you hate American comedy or you dislike it, you're wrong. I just want people to understand that you gotta understand why people do what they do. And once you do that, you can tolerate, okay, I understand why. I don't agree with it, but I understand why. And not necessarily be so defensive about it. So in a way, Will Smith was kind of the Tsukomi person and Chris Rock was the Joker. And he slapped him and disrespected him. And even now, a lot of people are supporting Chris Rock, and actually his career image has actually got a boost from this as well, because he took the slap professionally and didn't rage out on Will like many people would have done. So basically my point is, I can't criticize Japan for something that they do, but in the end get offended when Japan criticizes my culture for something that we always do. And I think it's vice versa for the Japanese. Like, again, if I'm going to criticize somebody, I have to be willing to face criticism from that same person. And with that, you have to develop emotional intelligence to do that. Because I believe a lot of people who live in a box or haven't been exposed to other ideas and challenged by other ideas, they tend to be people who tend to get easily offended by stuff. And I don't think that helps in trying to connect with other people. I mean, consider this channel. I mean, I'm a foreigner living in America, but yet I'm connecting with so many Japanese people overseas. I mean, for me, I think that's a unique skill that you need, because I couldn't just come to you guys with my American perspective all the time and just tell you guys, oh, well, suck it up, guys. I'm American and you have to deal with it. I can't do that, because if my mission is to connect with people, I have to try to understand why people think the way they do and try to come to some like common ground, because that's what I want to do, connect with people. And some people ask me, well, what if Chris Rock was white? Or what if there was a white comedian and he was making fun of black people? How would you feel about that, Kyo? Well, for one, let's say that Chris Rock was white. I don't think Will would have smacked him, because I believe white people and Asian people have a better ethnic image than black people do. So there's a more sign of respect culturally for those people. That's why I believe in the Oscars when Will slapped Chris Rock, they didn't cut to commercial, because to many people, oh, it's just black people doing their thing. And I've talked about that in my other video, but black people don't have a really good image, ethnic image. Now, if a white person or white comedian said a racist joke, how would I feel about it? Well, to me, it depends on the joke. Also the intent. Because like I said, comedy roasts is everybody. Whites, blacks, Asians, Latinos, Indian people. It happens all the time. And sadly, I think it's hard to determine, because in today's society, especially in Western culture, we love to be offended and we want to find racism in everything. I mean, there was black women saying that Chris Rock's joke was racist to black women. People will try to reach so hard to try to find some kind of racist or negativity in anything, because people love to be offended. So to me, was the white comedian trying to make a joke to entertain, or was he really trying to be racist and insult black people? Now, if he was insulting black people, I still wouldn't care. You want to know why? Because I've learned not to outrage so easily and not get so emotionally hyped up. And I bet a lot of Japanese understand that when they look at other foreigners, how Japanese compared to foreigners, Japanese have a bit more of emotional intelligence, while more foreigners tend to outrage and be overly emotional. And if the white comedian was saying something racist, I'll be like, well, I don't agree with what he said. I think what he said was stupid, but I personally wouldn't be mad about it. I mean, I would disagree with what he said if it really was offensive. But again, I think a lot of people nowadays take the littlest things and make them bigger than they actually are. And people don't also understand intent, because intent is very important. What was the purpose of you saying that? And again, when people write in comments on any channel I've had where they said, I'm disappointed in you, Ko, I'm unsubscribing, I'm like, cool, take care. You know, it's your choice. If you want to stick around, cool. If not, that's also your business, but I'm not offended by it. I don't let things bother me. Because being overly emotional doesn't change the fact that whatever happened, happened. So to wrap this all in a bow to make it sound nice, what I'm basically saying is that I hope this channel helps people and to understand different ways of thinking, and that hopefully by listening to my channel and watching this channel, you guys are able to form your arguments, form your worldviews, learn from me, and kind of like say, okay, I like what he said here. I don't like what he said here. He changed my mind here. But oh, I find this interesting. I never knew that. I just want to help you guys grow as people, because I think the more you're exposed to different ideas and the more you're exposed to different ways of thinking, I think it makes you guys stronger. You're able to form better arguments. But not only that, it gives you tolerance for when you actually do run into people in real life who have different opinions than you do. And my wish for you is not to automatically shut down because someone disagrees with you, but for you to, kind of have emotional intelligence to decipher what the person is saying, understand what the person is saying. But if you choose to disagree, you can disagree without no problems. And again, me and Edita-san are constantly learning from you guys. And I hope that we're able to help you guys grow as a people and all that good stuff. And also, hopefully you guys understand more of the cultural difference between American and Japanese comedy, and also understanding that if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Also hit that bell as well to get notified whenever we post a video. Honto, arigatou gozaimasu. Minna, kiyo tsukete. じゃあね。